In our previous lecture, what we have seen? We have seen what are the types of slopes, natural slopes, artificial slopes, and what are the main two reasons because of which a slope fails. Now today we will see what is the basis of stability analysis of slopes. Thereafter we will see factors of safety. Then what are various types of failures that can occur in a slope, and finally what are the causes or multiple reasons behind the failure of the slope. Okay, so we will see all these points one by one. We will start with the basis of stability analysis of slope. So this stability analysis is based on these four assumptions. Now as we all know, there are various methods available for the analysis of slope, but these are the four common assumptions which are applicable to all the methods. There can be few method specific assumptions also. So we will see those assumptions at the time of understanding the methods. Okay, now let us go through these four assumptions. The first assumption is the stress system is assumed two-dimensional. The stresses in the third direction are taken 0. Now let us assume our screen is lying in XZ plane and Y direction is perpendicular to the screen. So along Y direction, that is perpendicular to the screen, the dimension of the slope or soil element is considered of unit thickness. So it is ignored. Only two dimensions are considered for the analysis. This is just to simplify the process of analysis. So stresses in this Y direction, those are ignored. Second assumption is Coulomb's equation of shear strength is applicable, and shear strength parameters, cohesion and angle of internal friction, that is C and phi, are known before going for the analysis. So Coulomb shear strength equation is known to us. It is tau f or small s equals to C plus sigma tan phi, where C stands for cohesion in the soil and phi stands for angle of internal friction. Sigma is the normal stress. Now this cohesion and angle of internal friction, these two parameters, they are found out right in the laboratory. The soil samples are taken from the site and these factors are determined. Okay, so this is the meaning that these two values are known before going for the analysis. The third assumption is seepage pressure and water levels are known to us before going for the analysis. For what purpose these two things are required? To estimate pore water pressure. Okay, so at what level groundwater table exists at a particular site, whether it is at the ground surface or it is a little bit below the ground surface at some depth, say h, all those things are known to us. Whether seepage is steady, is it occurring, all these situations are known to us before going for the analysis. The last assumption is the plastic failure conditions are satisfied. As we all know, the slope failure occurs through sliding action. This sliding action may be rotational kind of thing, or it may be translational kind of thing. Okay, so once there is sliding of two layers, okay, like this, if the layer is sliding, what would happen? Once it has moved, it has displaced, it won't come back to its original position. So this failure would be known as plastic failure. Okay, so this plastic failure condition is satisfied, means this slope has completely failed. This is the meaning of this last assumption. In this way, these are the four assumptions on the basis of which stability analysis methods are executed, are used, are applied. Okay, next we will go for the factors of safety. Now as we know, we want to analyze stability of slope. So that means whether the slope is safe or not, stable or not. For making that slope stable, we have to compare few parameters. The first parameter would be the disturbing force and second parameter would be the resisting force. So ratio of resisting force to the disturbing force, this ratio is called as factor of safety. Now in case of soil, these factors are mentioned in three terms. The first is with respect to shear strength, second is with respect to cohesion, and third is with respect to friction. Alright, so we will see these three factors of safety one by one. Now the first factor of safety is with respect to shear strength. It is defined as the ratio of shear strength to the shear stress acting along the surface of failure. So what is meant by shear strength? This shear strength is nothing but tau f or small s. As we discussed before, it is C plus sigma tan phi. If effective parameters are known to us, then effective cohesion is C dash, effective normal stress is sigma dash, and effective angle of internal friction would be phi dash. So shear strength is expressed in terms of C and phi. What is shear stress? Shear stress is nothing but the tangential stress which will act at the interface of sliding layers. Okay, if there are two layers, this is the direction of slope and this top layer is sliding down in this manner. Okay, so at this interface of these two layers, whatever the stresses those are acting which are responsible for moving this layer downward, those are called as tangential stresses. Alright, these tangential stresses have second name as shear stress. Fine. So it is defined as the ratio of shear strength to the shear stress acting along the surface of failure. How it is written? It is written as Fs equal to tau f upon tau m, where tau f is, what is tau f? It is shear strength. And what is tau m? It is called as applied shear stress or mobilized shear stress. It is also called as mobilized. How it can be written? It can be written in terms of cohesion and angle of internal friction as it is mentioned in this equation. Okay, so what is mentioned here? Fs equal to C plus sigma dash tan phi upon Cm plus sigma dash tan phi m. This phi m is mobilized angle of internal friction, this Cm is mobilized cohesion, and sigma dash speaks about the effective normal stresses. Okay, so in this way this equation is written, and as we know that C and phi, these values are known to us before going for analysis. Sigma dash, it can be calculated with the help of weight of the soil which is acting above the failure plane. Once we calculate sigma dash and substitute the values, we will be getting the factor of safety. Now if we rearrange the terms, how that rearranged equation would look like? You can see at the bottom, here it is shown. What we have done here, we have divided C plus sigma dash tan phi by Fs, that is the factor of safety, and the equation is rewritten as shown on your slide. Now if you compare left hand side and right hand side, you just compare the terms. You compare the first term. What it is? It is C upon Fs, that is cohesion upon factor of safety, plus sigma dash tan phi divided by factor of safety. This is left hand side of the equation. On right hand side, what we have? We have Cm, that is the mobilized cohesion, plus sigma dash tan phi m, that is the mobilized angle of internal friction. Now here, if you compare the equation, the left hand side is C by Fs and on right hand side we have Cm. So what equation we will be getting? You can see on your slide, Cm equal to C upon Fs. Okay, and similarly you can compare the second term of LHS with the second term of RHS. Sigma dash would get cancelled. What will remain? Tan phi m, tan phi and Fs. Hence this tan phi m is equal to tan phi upon Fs. So if you rearrange these terms, you will be getting factor of safety. Factor of safety with respect to cohesion and factor of safety with respect to angle of friction. Okay, that is what is mentioned in our next slide. So factor of safety with respect to cohesion, how it can be defined? It is defined as the ratio of available cohesion intercept C to the mobilized cohesion intercept Cm. So Fc is equal to C upon Cm. Fine. Factor of safety with respect to friction, that is angle of internal friction, it is defined as the ratio of available frictional strength to the mobilized frictional strength, that is Fy equals to tan phi upon tan phi m. Practically, what is done, these factors of safety with respect to shear strength, with respect to cohesion, and with respect to angle of internal friction, they are usually taken equal, the same. Okay, so you please remember this point, that Fs equal to Fc equal to Fy. This is applied practically in the field. Now we will go for what are the types of failure of slopes. So there are 5 types of failure that can occur. First is rotational failure, second is translational failure, third is compound failure, fourth is wedge failure, and fifth is miscellaneous failure. Now what is rotational failure? As you can see on the slide, this is a kind of finite slope. Okay, this is a finite slope. It is of limited extent. How this slope can fail? If this slope is made up of homogeneous soil, there are great chances that it will fail along this circular path. This circular path is called as slip surface. Alright, so how this slip surface would cause the failure? See, you can observe here, this soil mass will move downward and so also outward. Okay, so the resultant displacement would be like this. In this way, this slip surface will form an arc of a circle. So when this soil mass is homogeneous, the failure is observed almost an arc of a circle. Okay, but in the second diagram you can see same finite slope, but if it is made up of non-homogeneous soil, means properties will be different at different points. What would happen? This circle will not have a specific radius. Okay, so it would be termed as non-circular slip surface. What is written here? Failure occurs by rotation along a slip surface. In what way? By downward and outward movement of the soil mass. So this type of failure is called as rotational failure. It has 3 types. What are 3 types? The first type is toe failure. Okay, this is toe failure. Second type is slope failure, and third type is base failure. Now again observe the slope. This is the finite slope. Okay, this bottommost point of the slope is called as toe. This inclined face is called as slope. Okay, now here you can observe this slip surface or slip circle is going through the toe almost, right? So this type of failure is called as toe failure. The second type is slope failure. What is the difference? You can just compare the diagram A and diagram B, and you can observe that this slip surface or slip circle is intersecting face of the slope. Okay, so this much portion of soil will move downward, so also outward. In third situation, which is base failure, here you can see this much portion of soil is moving outward and downward. Okay, and how it has failed? It has come beyond this toe level and it has crossed this toe level and intersected the base of the slope. Hence it is called as base failure. Okay, this complete portion of soil will slide over this interface. Now what are the peculiar situation under which these failures would occur? So toe failure would occur in case of homogeneous soil. Okay, slope failure, when will it occur? It will occur in case of steep slopes. Okay, and third, base failure. Base failure would occur when below this toe level, this is toe, so below this toe level, if soil available is weak and at great depth this hard strata is available. So this slip surface may go down the base, down the toe level, and it may cross the bottom of the slope. Under this situation, the base failure occurs. So I hope you have understood what are the types of rotational failure. The first type is toe failure, occurs in homogeneous soil. Second type is slope failure, usually or commonly observed in steep slopes. And third is base failure, which is observed when the soil below toe level is weak or soft. Alright, so this is rotational failure. Now the second failure is translational failure. Now you can see three diagrams on your slide. The first diagram is depicting some planes of weaknesses. Okay, what is shown there? This bottom portion is basically the hard strata, and over this hard strata these various layers of soil, number of layers, they are deposited, and this is interface. All these lines are nothing but the interfaces between the layers. So these interfaces would act as the planes of weakness. Okay, now you can simply understand what would happen if these are the planes of weaknesses, since there are number of soil layers which are deposited one over the other. So this first interface would become a weak plane, and whenever the shear stresses are predominating on shear strength, it will start sliding down. Okay, it will slide down through this point of interface. Okay, have you understood this? So that plane of weakness would be nothing but the interface between two layers. Now this type of failure, where it is observed? This failure is observed in case of infinite slopes. So here it is mentioned, this failure occurs in infinite slope along a long failure surface along the slope. As we know, infinite slope means a slope of infinite extent, means its length would be greater. Okay, it would be up to greater height, so that would be called as infinite slope. Like hills, it is considered as infinite slope, but in case of canal, the slope is considered as finite slope because it is of limited length. Alright, so it's a relative term. Here in the red font you can see the definition. What is the speciality or property of infinite slope? A constant slope of unlimited extent having uniform soil properties. Okay, so uniform soil properties at the same depth below the free surface. What does this mean? Now consider diagram 1. Here this is a ground surface. Okay, and if you consider point here, okay, suppose this depth is 2 meter, this vertical distance is 2 meter. Now consider another point at the same depth here, okay, which is 2 meter below the ground surface. This is 2 meter below the ground surface, this point. So properties here and properties at the initial location, these will be uniform. This is the meaning of infinite slope. Okay. Now this shape of failure plane is affected by the presence of hard substratum at shallow depth. At what level we are getting hard substrata or substratum? So the shape depends, shape of failure or plane of failure depends on this. In the second diagram you can see how these slip planes are moving. If you could observe it properly, at the bottom this distance is less, at the top this distance is greater. What is the meaning of this? This means, as you can observe, there are multiple layers of soil, okay, and the soil has started moving down. So crack would initiate at the top first, and then it will propagate in this direction, okay, because of which the top layer of the soil would experience a wider crack as compared to the bottom. Okay, and now this as soon as that crack reaches the hard strata, this complete mass on the right hand side will get separated and it will start sliding down, which is called as translation. Hence this kind of failure is called as translational failure. In the third diagram you can see clearly how the mass of the soil has moved. Originally this soil mass was here, okay, and now it has moved down. So this is called as translational failure. And this portion is, it's a rock. Fine. It may occur along the slope of stratification. That is what we discussed, that if there are various layers of soil deposited on one on each other, then the plane of failure may be or mostly the plane of interface. Okay, so in this way the translational failure occurs. The next is compound failure. Now you can very well understand the word compound itself is self-explanatory. It is something combination of few kinds of failure. Okay, so what is the combination? This can be understood from the diagram. Okay, again this is the finite slope. It is not infinite slope. This is the finite slope, and this dotted line indicates, what does it indicate? It indicates the plane of failure. So this has come down with a curve. At the bottom, this slip surface met with the hard strata, so it has become tangential to the hard strata, and again it has come up. So this is responsible for base failure. Okay, because this is the toe level of the finite slope, and it has crossed that toe level and it has reached at the bottom of the slope. So this is a base failure kind of failure of the soil. Okay, so the explanation is given right in the box. The failure surface consists of both plane and curve section. So initial portion is curve, end portion is curve, and the middle portion of slip surface is a straight line. These failures occur where the adjacent stratum is at quite a large distance from the slope surface. Okay, this is the adjacent stratum which is at large distance, at great depth. So this slip surface has come down. Once it meets with the harder surface, it cannot go below, so it has to travel through the interface, because these two are nothing but two different layers of soil. So through interface it will travel, and again it has come up. Okay, so it is the combination of rotational and translational failure, and this occurs when hard stratum is at considerable depth. This is compound failure of slope. Next is wedge failure. What is wedge failure? Here you can observe in the diagram, this diagram, the bottom one. Okay, what is shown here? This is nothing but the cross section of the dam, of an earthen dam, suppose. Now this inclined line is nothing but the plane of weakness or interface. Means this portion of soil may be of different properties, and this quantity of soil may be of different properties. So if there is change in the properties, then this kind of failure is observed. So this much portion or wedge, it will slide down the plane. Okay, so this is called as a block or plane or wedge failure. Now you can see in the explanation, it occurs when distinct blocks and wedges of the soil mass get separated. Of course, this wedge has got separated from the complete soil mass. It occurs in finite slope with layers of two different materials or a homogeneous material with cracks. Means there are two situations which are mentioned. First, this failure would occur when there are two different materials which are used while constructing this earthen dam, or a same material is used but there are cracks. Existing cracks are there, and those cracks would form a slip surface, and this complete portion of the soil will slide down as a block or wedge. Hence this is called as block, plane or wedge failure. Alright, I hope you have understood what are the kinds of failure. The first failure we have seen, it is rotational failure. The second failure we have seen, translational failure. Third failure is combination of these two, compound failure. Fourth failure is wedge failure, and fifth one, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it is miscellaneous failure. Means basically there are few kinds of failures which would occur, and those cannot be categorized under these four heads, like spreading of soil which is there on the slope. This cannot be categorized under any of these heads. Hence it is taken into miscellaneous failure. So these are various types of failures of slopes. Okay, The next part is related to causes of failure of slopes. So what are the causes? There are multiple causes we have seen, but these are categorized under two heads. One is increase in the shear stress and second is decrease in the shear strength. Okay, so the factors or the causes which we are discussing now, those are addressing only those two categories, increase in the shear stress or decrease in the shear strength. So let us go through these causes. The first cause is erosion. Wind and flowing water is responsible for surface erosion of slopes, making them steeper. This increases the magnitude of tangential component of the force causing the slope failure. Now, as we know, the agencies which are responsible for erosion, the major agencies are wind and flowing water, right? So, because of these agencies, the surface will get eroded, it will become steeper. Once the slope becomes steeper, what would happen? The component which is responsible for sliding of slope, that is the tangential component, its value would be increasing, and that increasing value is nothing but increase in the shear stress, which is responsible for the failure. Okay, so this is the meaning of this statement. The second cause is seepage. Persistent seepage adds forces in the direction of slope, making it unstable. The pore pressure decreases the shear strength of the soil and affects the stability of slopes. If there is continuous seepage of water, water is continuously flowing through the slope, okay, or a body of a dam, what would happen? At one particular good moment, the water content in the slope or in the soil would increase, and that will increase the pore water pressure. What is pore water pressure? The pressure exerted by the water present in the voids of that soil. It will increase, and once that pressure gets increased, it will affect the cohesion as well as angle of internal friction, and those factors would be responsible for the failure of the slope. Okay, the next point is sudden drawdown. What is drawdown? Drawdown means if canal is flowing fully and suddenly the gate is closed and the water level in the canal has gone down. Okay, so this sudden drawdown is nothing but this process which happens, that there is sudden decrease in the level of water in the canal. So what would be the effect of this? Let us see in this reason. So this causes reversal of flow, and this reversal action will take the soil particles in that direction. Okay, once the particles starts moving in that direction, the slope will fail, right? So what is mentioned here? Saturated unit weight of soil increases shear stresses, making the slope unstable. Okay, also dissipation of pore water pressure takes longer time. So technically the reason is mentioned there, that saturated unit weight of soil will be more, and once that saturated unit weight is greater, it will add to the tangential component of the stresses which will act along the direction of plane of failure. That will add, means increment in the shear stress would happen, and presence of water simultaneously causes decrease in the shear strength, because it will lubricate the friction. Second, it will reduce the cohesion in the soil. Okay, and this will cause a failure. Second thing which is mentioned is a dissipation of pore water pressure takes longer time. As we are aware that water will flow through the canal, and to minimize the wastage of water, the sides of the canal, they are made up of almost impervious kind of clay. Okay, so clay is almost impermeable. If that clay or soil is fully saturated and water is present in that portion of soil, it will take much more time to come out of the soil, because its permeability is very less. Hence, this dissipation of pore water pressure will take much more time. So, it will disturb the cohesion as well as friction. Okay. In this way, this sudden drawdown is responsible for the failure of the slope. Next cause is rainfall. Sustained rainfall facilitates entry of water into the existing cracks in the soil, weakening the soil mass. This results in the failure of slope. I think this is a very crystal clear sentence, and there is no need to explain much more about this. Because of continuous rainfall and presence of cracks, the water will find its way through the cracks. It will form a pipe kind of thing, okay, and that plane through which, or the cracks through which the water will flow, it will form, or it will result into formation of plane of failure, and it will fail. This is the main reason behind the landslides which occur everywhere. Okay. Next is earthquake. Earthquake means vibrations, dynamic loads. So vibrations and sudden increase in pore pressure make the slope unstable. Okay. If there are vibrations, there would be sudden increase in the pore water pressure, and once the water which is present in the voids, if it starts vibrating like anything, it will disturb the soil structure, it will disturb the cohesion, it will disturb the angle of internal friction, and we know cohesion and angle of internal friction, they are the main pillars of making that soil strong. Once they are disturbed, the soil will fail. Imposed loads, increase in stresses are responsible for increase in the components of forces. Okay. Suppose we have constructed a building for residential purpose on a slope. So utility is residential purpose. Thereafter, that same building is to be used for commercial purpose. So what would happen? Utility is changed, activities will be different, and that will add to the extra load on the foundation. Okay, and that load will be transferred to the soil. Once that load is transferred to the soil, the parameters like tangential stress and normal stress, these two things would experience increase in their magnitude, and once this shear stress or tangential stress crosses the shear strength, the soil will fail. Okay, in this way imposed loads are responsible for the failure of the slope. All right, the last one is construction activities. So excavation at the bottom of the slope may cause slope instability. Okay, this is also a very common reason for the failure of slope. Suppose there is a hill and we want to construct a road somewhere at the bottom of that hill or somewhere in middle. What will happen? Once we start excavating, we are basically removing the lateral support to the remaining portion of the soil. So if that portion is removed, vacancy will be created, empty space will form, and the support, lateral support has gone. So this soil will start moving in this direction, and once the slope starts or the soil starts moving down the slope, it will fail. Okay, in this way we have seen what are the various causes responsible for the failure of the slope. All right, and all these reasons are responsible, or they cater increase in the shear stress or decrease in the shear strength. So in this way, today what we have seen? We have seen first what are the assumptions involved in the stability analysis of slope. There are 4 assumptions. Okay. Thereafter, we have seen what are the factors of safety, those are considered in the analysis. First is with respect to shear strength, second is with respect to cohesion, and third is with respect to angle of internal friction. And for all practical purposes, these 3 factors of safety are taken equal in magnitude. Okay. After that, we have seen what are various types of failures those can occur in a slope. So slope can be a finite slope or infinite slope. So we have seen 5 types of failures those can occur. First, rotational failure. Second, translational failure. Third, combination of first 2, that is compound failure. Fourth, wedge or block or plain failure. Fifth, miscellaneous failure, which we cannot categorize under the four heads. Thereafter, we saw what are various causes of failure of slopes. So, these are the reasons which are responsible for the failure of slope. So, that is all for today. In next lecture, we will start with the stability analysis of infinite slope. Thank you for the day.